Okay, what seems to be the diagnosis for this one? Oh, nostalgia sickness.
Games were better back then, damn it! Now all they care about is graphics, loot boxes, and microtransactions.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to administer this one a reality check, even though I kind of agree with some of the things he said.
Why don't people remember the good games of old? I want to do Streets of Rage!
When I wasn't busy with homework, I was playing video games. I mean, I barely did my homework anyway, but that's besides the point. I often found myself really enjoying the management genre, and I know that might not sound all that interesting, but back then they had a different style to them, and you may have heard about them under a different name. The Tycoon series. I played a bunch of them. Roller Coaster Tycoon, Transport Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, even management games like The Sims and SimCity. There was something oddly enjoyable about keeping everything working correctly, designing things to run smoothly and to make a lot of money. I wasn't good at them at all, actually. But that never stopped me from spending so many hours on them. And today I'm talking about one of my childhood favorites, Theme Hospital. And I don't even remember how I got the game back then. Did I have it on disc or did I borrow it from a friend? For a game I played as much as I did, I'm surprised I can't remember where I got it from. Released in 1997 for PC, if you had played Theme Park, you know what to expect going in. You are tasked with building and maintaining a profitable, helpful hospital. Not just the one hospital, of course, there are many different levels with various layouts, with a fairly gradual increase in difficulty and complexity as we go on. But of course, we start with the tutorial to give us the basics. It tells you how to place an object, like the reception, place a room, like the GP's office, how to hire a doctor to work in the GP's office. And then, oh no wait, that's it! You're on your own from now on, have fun! No problem, I've got this. What's my first assignment? Heart surgery. Is it a bad time to tell you it's my first day? Jeez, alright, well, talk about throwing us into the deep end. It's not really that hard to figure out though. As you start exploring the menus, you'll see there are various rooms for various things, like diagnosis or treatment or research. And each one contains rooms which are the same as that type. Wards, general diagnosis, and pharmacies and the like. Now, although it is important to have all of these rooms, it's also important to decide where the rooms go. And you quickly realize that's one of the more important aspects of the game, the room layout. You want to make it fairly easy for your patients to walk around while still being effective and using up as much space as possible. I understand why the tutorial didn't go over this, because it's all about experience and personal preference, really. I just remember spending a lot of time picking which rooms to make slightly bigger to improve efficiency. If I make the ward one block bigger, maybe I'll be able to fit another bed in. Also, you have to factor in that making larger rooms improves the happiness of your staff. It was a lot to think about, and I remember losing full days to just playing this game, trying different layouts and strategies to try and beat the current level I was on. Hours and hours spent, but that was mainly because I wasn't very good at the game. In comparison to my current self-playing, well, I haven't lost a level yet, so that probably means me have good brain for video game playtime. Well, at least a little better than I did have. I specifically remember playing a lot during the school summer holidays, considering my library of games growing up was a lot smaller than it is nowadays. I'd wake up and not long after start playing, and the next thing I know, it's dinner time. But as a kid, I often recall being roadblocked by certain things. For some reason, I couldn't get my head around the idea that having more than one GP's office was a good idea, despite seeing what is easily a 50-man queue outside the dang building. Most likely it was a lack of knowledge or understanding of the mechanics, probably assuming I could only have one of each type of building. You know, it's actually quite a shock I got anywhere near the end game in this when I was younger, because I'm pretty certain I remember my strategies were just to brute force the level somehow, usually saving the game before I did anything risky and then just reloading if everything went wrong. Oh, I don't think that's supposed to happen. Can I get a retry? What do you mean, no? But even then, although I know I got pretty far into the game, I never beat it. I was very close, I think maybe 2 or 3 levels away, but I never finished the game. My brute force strategies never really worked in the later levels because if you do things wrong, it goes downhill fast. You do get presented with a pretty big difficulty spike about halfway in, but before that, the levels are used to teach you what kind of things to expect. In the beginning, there's a limited amount of illnesses that you have to cure, and and a limited amount of buildings to do it with each level increasing the amount of illnesses that can be available as well as the amount of buildings you can make, which of course increases the difficulty of the management. And you know, it's as you're playing that you're gonna notice this game has a sense of humor. Some of them are very obvious and in your face, though there are quite a lot of subtle ones. It can also be humorous in its approach and wording of various things. The very important health inspector wants to come and visit our hospital? Just tell him a bunch of lies to get him to sod off. The biggest jokes are often in the illnesses. One of my personal favorites is invisibility, which is shown by the patient walking around in a hat, glasses, and cane. Bloated head, which, I mean, look at it. It's that. And what adds on to these illnesses is the way they treat them. What's that? You're covered in hair? Well, rather than just cutting it off, let's electrocute you. But it isn't all visual based. There are a ton of illnesses that are funny in their description, and the game always likes to inform you when you've discovered a new illness, usually with the symptoms and how to get said disease being quite amusing. But in the end, the comedy takes a back seat. The brief moments you get to enjoy the silly symptoms are few and far apart, especially when you get to the later half of the game where the stressful management kicks in. You know, I think I figured out why this game ate away so much time, and it's because I didn't notice how long it was taking for me to scramble around trying to keep everything functional. There are mechanics in this game which really get on my nerves, epidemics being the main one. Every now and then you'll get a warning that an epidemic has started. This is the indication that someone has an incredibly contagious disease and might be spreading it to other patients in the hospital. Usually it's one of those diseases that doesn't have a visual representation, and I'm under the assumption you can usually tell how serious it is depending on how much they want you to pay to get rid of it. But all this can lead to a number of things happening. You pay to get rid of it, using a lot of money and usually giving you a reputation hit, and then 2 seconds later another one happens. Or you try and cure it. When you attempt to cure the epidemic, you can see everyone who's infected and you have to spray them with a little can to stop the virus from spreading further. Then you better hope you're prepared to treat these patients. If you run out of time or one of the infected patients walks outside the building, the Ministry of Health will appear. And if anyone is still infected even in the slightest amount, you get an even bigger fine and a hit to your reputation. If you don't have the requirements needed to treat these patients, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. Though this is often the worst thing that can happen to you, there still are other things to worry about, like earthquakes. I'm pretty sure these happen at random, but every now and then an earthquake will hit, starting with a small rumble to warn you ahead of time that it's about to happen, then with a huge screen-shaking tremble. Though this is visually annoying, its main purpose is to damage your machines. If you haven't been repairing your machines or replacing their hardware when they're too damaged, they explode and you lose the use of that room for the rest of the level. It also kills the doctor and any patients that were in the room at the time as well. But the machines can also explode on their own from overuse without being repaired anyway, earthquake or not. So make sure you have enough handymen to be able to go out there and repair everything when needed. Oh, but you better make sure you also have enough handymen to be able to clean the floor grounds, because if you don't, people get nauseous and sick and they throw up, and then it's just a vicious cycle. But you also need more handymen to keep your plants watered as well. Do you see what I mean about how this can be stressful? It devolves to me doing laps around a huge hospital, constantly checking machines to see if they need repair, dealing with epidemics when they arrive, all while trying to fulfill the level's win conditions by increasing the value of my hospital, making a certain amount of money, curing enough patients to win the level without killing enough to lose the level, trying to deal with the stupidest AI I've ever seen for these doctors, as my psychiatrist decided he randomly wanted to be in general diagnosis. You're overqualified for this job, Steve! I hired you as a psychiatrist for a reason! And of course, there are some quirks and some bugs. The amount of times that the doctor in the corner, which is meant to help you by the way, gave me misinformation is just beyond me. A patient is leaving because he's unpleased with your hospital, and quite frankly, I don't blame him. When my happiness meter is actually the highest it can go, it clearly must be we're too good for him. And the amount of times the lady over the tannoy tells me my hair restorer needs repairing when I don't have one. Yeah, it can be a little rough around the edges. But after all that, despite me not getting anywhere near as much enjoyment as I did back in the day, it's still fun. I think it's mostly to do with the fact I have a lot more choice of what to play and where to spend my time, where back in the day, I didn't really have that luxury luxury. But even still, when I played it for this video, there'd still be times where I went, wow, I've been playing for 3 hours? You just get sucked in, wanting everything to go well, making sure everything is running smoothly, and although it can be stressful, there is merit to that. It keeps you engaged, always on your toes, and it makes for a great payoff when you finally beat the level. But it does show its age. Some things you think would be obvious in a game like this, they don't even have. You can't rotate the camera at all, and you can't zoom in or out, so getting a view of the hospital can be quite a pain. But in my time getting footage for the game, I was informed about a modified version. Kind of along the same vein of Open TTD and Open Roller Coaster Tycoon, let me introduce you to Corsick's Theme Hospital. This changes a few things like making the game widescreen and allowing you to zoom in and out, and I mean like far out, giving you a lot more individual options to change as well as just pause the game. Most of the menus are just little windows now, so you can keep an eye on what's going on, and generally just running smoother. I think the biggest addition, although a addition I didn't try myself, is the level creator. So if you happen to be in a group that was very fond of this game and suddenly this is a new thing to you, that might be a good little time waster for you. It's pretty neat, apart from when people just throw up the first minute they step in the hospital.
We've already tried everything, damn it! We just don't have the requirements to cure this patient. Look, we're out of options. Maybe 2 Point will be able to sort this out. Yeah. Maybe 2 Point Hospital will be able to sort this out.
Thank you all for being so patient with me. Unfortunately, this came out a little later than I wanted to due to some health trouble. I really appreciate you, and I'm gonna work my butt off the rest of the month. And of course, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. Are you aware we do a monthly podcast now? I really just need to update a bunch of the details. Either way, guys, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Pixelated Memories. If you did, give the video a like. It really does help out. And subscribe and click the bell to get notified about more videos, as you know by now, I'm sure. Yes, with that little bit at the end, I do intend on showing off 2 Point Hospital, but not until after Halloween. Anyway, I gotta go. Enjoy one of my other videos. Okay, bye-bye.